Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Suddenly Super. It is chapter 4. Let's get into it. Violet. V, wake up. Violet opened her eyes slowly. For a brief, shining moment, she forgot what day it was and why Dash was standing over her. Then she remembered. She peered at his blue eyes and his pale face dotted with freckles. So close to her own, she was sure they'd bumped noses. Her brother smelled like marshmallows, which meant he'd found the sugary cereal. In the distance, she could hear Jack babbling the sounds of the TV. Look what I found in Mum and Dad's room. Dash hopped up on her bed, puffed out his tiny chest, and placed his hands on his hips, showing off a red unitard. It had a giant black circle in the middle of the chest, with a gold lowercase I on it, which looked strange because usually the letter I on its own was capitalised. It had all the markings of a super suit. Fits like a glove, Dash said. You've got one too. So does Jack. What were you doing in Mum and Dad's room? Felt this out fast, and Dash lost his balance, tumbling off the bed. Mum was packing and I saw the suit on her bed. I asked her about it over and over again, but she got mad and told me to leave the room. He grinned. But then the phone rang and Mum asked someone about borrowing a plane. I swiped these when she wasn't looking. He raised one eyebrow. She had no clue. Dash was wrong. Mum knew everything. But she didn't take the suits away from him, so she must have been in a real hurry. What was she doing packing super suits anyway? What was she doing packing super suits anyway? And why would she have made the ones for the rest of the family? This didn't make sense. Val was too tired to process it. Where is Mum now? She said with a yawn. She left. Said you were babysitting all day and to listen to you. Just climbed back onto the bed and frowned. It's not fair. Why do you get to be in charge? The argument with her mum from the night before came roaring back as the fog of sleep lifted. After Mum had said that she was still grounded, Val had stormed out of the car and gone right to her room. When her mum came by later to say good night, Violet pretended to be asleep. She knew it was babyish, but she was still mad at Mum for spying on her. Technically, her powers were Mum and Dad's fault. Now that she thought back on giving Mum the silent treatment, she felt kind of bad. Mum left without saying goodbye. Yep. Dash started to bounce on the bed again, his blonde hair flying up and down. Said to tell you she left a note in Dad's office and I wasn't allowed in there. If she's not home early, I'm staying up later than I ever have before on a Saturday. Violet hurried out of bed, adjusting her pajama bottoms, which had ridden up to her knees overnight. You have to listen to me. I'm sure Mum told you that. Dash kept bouncing. Maybe, but she didn't say what I had to wear today, so I'm wearing this. You've got one too. He held an identical red unitard in his right hand. I put Jack in his. Wasn't easy. He bounced higher. The springs on Violet's twin-sized bed groaning. He doesn't like anything going over his head. His nappy was so stinky I had to change him. Dash pointed a finger at her. You're doing the next one. Violet swiped the unitard from her brother and it disappeared the second it touched her hand. How did it do that? Dash stopped bouncing and stared at her hand. That is so cool. Violet tapped the air where the unitard should be with her other hand and it reappeared, so the suit could disappear just like she could. It clearly had been made for her. But why? Didn't look like Dad's classic blue uniform or Mum's white one. Why did Mum have these? Mum, Violet thought. What are you hiding about this trip? Dash tapped his own chest. Oh, why won't mine disappear? From downstairs, Violet heard a high-pitched squeal and the sound of a dish getting thrown onto the floor. What was on Jack's plate? Dash paled. Spinach. I couldn't find anything else. Violet groaned, grabbed her suit and headed downstairs to check on the baby. She had to hand it to Dash. He moved the baby's high chair from the kitchen to the living room and plopped him in front of cartoons. Jack let out a high-pitched screech at the sight of her. Banging his hands on his high chair tray, Violet sighed. Between his pale, bald little head with its short spike of blonde hair and his big blue eyes, it was hard to resist Jack, even when he was being a terror. An overturned bowl of spinach covered a patch of the living room rug. She really hoped spinach washed out. Take those suits off and put them back where you found them, she called to her brother, and you're cleaning up this mess. I'm not, Dash grumbled. Violet shook her head and walked past him into the kitchen, which was already a disaster. Several bowls, spoons, and spilled cereal and milk covered the table. The tap was dripping, and Dash had left the milk out on the worktop. Violet sighed and put it in the fridge, leaving the rest of the dishes for a moment to check the wall phone. Was it working? If it was, why hadn't Carrie called to yell at it yet? Violet picked it up and heard the dial tone. It was working. Maybe Carrie was still sleeping. Or she was mad. She tried her friend later after she figured out what to do with Dash and Jack. Violet paused at the living room window. Outside, the sky was blue with a smattering of clouds. One of their neighbours was mowing his lawn, while two of Dash's friends were playing catch in the middle of the street. Tricycle bell chimed. Violet watched kids ride by the house. He was clearly nice enough to get outside. Maybe she could take her brother to the park and then stop by Carrie's. Was she allowed to leave the house? Mum hadn't said either way. Maybe there was more information than the note. Violet headed down the hall to Dad's office and pushed the door open, sucking in her breath as she always did when she stepped inside the darkened room. Dad's office was usually off limits. She knew Mum had only kept it unlocked today so that Violet could grab the note waiting for her on the desk or use the comms link in an emergency. Mum's office wasn't so sealed. She kept her super memorabilia locked in a chest in the loft. The only picture she kept on display was one of her and her old friend Snog, a fellow pilot from her flying days. Flying? Her mum said that's what she was doing today, didn't she? Violet just realised she had never asked where she was going. Where was Dad's latest conference anyway? Violet? Dash called from down the hall. Violet quickly went to the door and shut it, locking it behind her. You're not allowed in there. I'll be right out. Dash didn't respond. She looked at the desk, which was littered with papers and pencils. In the centre, it was a piece of paper with her names scribbled on the top. Violet, keep Jack Jack to her schedule and don't let Dash eat more than 2 bowls of that sugar cereal. Hang on to this note. Below the note was an hour-by-hour check-off schedule for Jack Jack's naps, bottle feeding and sleep times. She signed it Mum. Not Love Mum, just Mum. Mum was still mad at her. Is that the note? Violet spun round. Dash was standing behind her, in the office that she thought she'd locked him out of. She should have known he would speed by her and get into the room before she shut the door. You're not allowed in here. Violet grabbed the note and stuck it in her pocket. And why are you still wearing the red unitard? It's a super suit and it's meant for me. I'm keeping it. Dash darted over to one of Dad's displays and picked up what looked like a miniature blue megaphone. Hey, what's this thing do? Dash, Violet's raised voice with a clear warning. Put that back. We're not supposed to touch anything in here. I'm not going to break it, Dash said, pressing a button on the side before Violet could stop him. Dash, don't! Violet jumped into the line of fire before thinking better of it. Megan fired and her body went numb. She tried to move. It felt like she was swimming through mud. Every impulse told her to scream out, but no sound escaped her lips. Before she could panic, the sensation evaporated. Dash stood in front of her, eyes wide. What just happened? Violet demanded, shaking out her limbs, which felt tingly. You froze, Dash crowd, sounding excited. A blue light came out of this thing, and bam! You were immobile. Immobile. Immobilized. Violet snapped, reaching for the megaphone. You could have killed me. Nothing in here can kill us, Dash said, whipping back and forth across the room so fast. Violet's head couldn't swivel back enough to keep up. Can it? I don't know. I don't want to find out. Violet reached for Dash again. She was afraid to attempt a force field for fear of breaking one of Dad's super awards. He was always polishing those. Ooh! Dash was on the opposite side of the room again. He held up a tiny yellow button with a happy face on it. What's this do? The button looked like a peace pin Violet had found on her jacket the day before. Why had it come from a box on display that had the word warning on it? Don't touch that, she said, and once again Dash did the opposite. A red light beamed out of the button, projecting onto one of Dad's beloved Super of the Year trophies. 2 seconds later, the trophy shrunk to the size of a penny. It's a shrink ray. Dash picked the trophy up. Now it's smaller than your old dollhouse furniture. Violet groaned. Daddy's going to kill me. I think that was his favourite award. Dash dropped the tiny trophy, smaller than a thumbnail, into Violet's palm, then took it back. Maybe if I press it again, it will get bigger, Dash said, placing it back on the ground. Don't press it again, Violet cried, but it's too late. The ray was shooting out at the trophy and poof, the trophy was back to normal size. Dash smiled triumphantly. Told you. Violet grabbed the trophy and put it back on the shelf, momentarily relieved before her anger kicked in. She did not need to be in more trouble than she was already. Put everything back and get out of this office. Can I take this mini pinball game? Dash asked, appearing near the door and holding up the homing device her mum had used the night before. A red light was blinking over the ocean. That was weird. Was this Mum's homing device or Dad's? Where was Dad's conference? On an island? That sounded more like holiday than work. It's not a pinball game. Put it back where you found it, she told him. Dash groaned, dropping it on the desk, and zipped out of the room. Down the hall she heard Jack Jack screech in delight at the sight of him. Was it possible to be tired of babysitting already? Because she was. Jack Jack, want to freeze for a second? She heard Dash say, and Violet stilled. He still had the freeze ray. Dash, I told you to put the other stuff back. Violet ran into the living room where she found him about to freeze the baby. Make me, Dash said, doing laps around Jack Jack's high chair, his speed kicking up wind. Jack Jack started to laugh as Violet's black hair fluttered around like she was in a storm. Hey, maybe I'll try this on Tony Reininger so he talks to you. How do you know that name? Violet's eyes narrowed. You've been listening to my calls with Carrie? Dash! Dash! Dash ran faster as Jack Jack laughed harder, spitting bubbles. With a little pain in the neck teased her about Tony in public, and someone overheard, and news of her crush got back to Tony. Violet's heart tightened. Give me that freeze ray, she shouted, her anger mounting, her whole body starting to overheat. Before she knew what she was doing, she lunged towards him, trying to grab the back of his shirt. Miss, Dash said, laughing. Would Carrie have to deal with it if she were babysitting normal kids? No. Violet wanted an easy Saturday. Instead, Dash was creating a hurricane and threatening to shrink the baby. Being super was so unfair. Violet felt her breathing grow shallow, her face and hands warm, and her body tingle as she reached out her hand in front of her. An invisible barrier shot out, its hazy purple edges barely visible as a force field, as large as their dining room table appeared, powerful enough to knock Dash off his feet. Violet stood back in awe. Whoa. She never created a force field so large before. Hey, Dash said, rubbing his side as he sat up and glared at her. No force fields. Jack Jack laughed harder, banging his forehead on the tray table, getting himself covered in spinach. He was going to need a bath. It's your own fault, Violet told him. You know you're not supposed to use your powers when Mum and Dad aren't home. Neither are you, Dash pointed out. Violet sighed. It was going to be a long day.